Well, there may be going on in the background a contest between a crow and a stellar jay. And so if they become too disruptive, I may have to take an intermission and shoot the sons of bitches. Anyway, I've been thinking about how religionists have an overblown, I think a word I could use is overweening, arrogant belief that their spiritual juju can detect and correct serious mental problems. And I first encountered this when I was doing a child custody fight where the dad had custody of the 3 little girls and the mom wanted them, and I was able to prove that this guy was a liar and a drunk. And God, anyway, it's a great story. You got to buy me coffee if you want to hear it. But he brought his ministry in to state that he was working with Jack on his alcoholism, and that they had his alcoholism in abatement, and that they were dealing with it. Now, that's horseshit, because alcoholics dwell in and deal in deceit, and ministers do not dwell there. They can't. If they're going to be a minister, they gotta, be thinking about cupcakes, strawberries, and rainbows most of the time. So they just are not prepared to deal with somebody who's going to lie to them at every turn, which is what a drunk does. Now, I think I might have said something about alcoholic. The difference between an alcoholic and a drunk is alcoholics go to meetings. This guy was a drunk. So anyway, I proved to the court that he was not dealing with his alcoholism, his addiction. And, but the judge says, well, looks like he's been sober for 6 months. Let's give him another try. Anyway, so then you got these Catholic bishops and cardinals who somehow believe that their spiritual juju can detect and correct pedophilia. And they can't. Getting a confession from a guy and maybe some acts of contrition, kneeling on his rosaries and saying 100 paternosters, it ain't doing it. And they may end up ruining their whole church, just as they've ruined the lives of thousands of people, because of this stupid belief that religion can cure pedophilia. Now, I am aware that there are a number of openly declared pedophiles who do not practice. They don't mess with children, and they keep it under control. They're good citizens. And I'm aware that for many of them, what they do is they surrender to a higher power. And many of them probably do rely on God to keep them behaving. Okay, but the most recent problem we have is Trump, who has surrounded himself with evangelicals. And there's, I guess, a Paula White, who's now the White House Rasputin. As I understand it, your tax dollars are paying for Paula White to hang around as Trump's lickspittle and, reassure him that he has the mandate of heaven. Well, the first thing that is a problem is it kind of looks like that Melania is probably a decent human being, and she's probably trying to be as good a wife as you can be to that fat old turd, and is trying to be a good mother to Barron. So he'll spend within a week he'll spend with 3 different kinds of women. You got Melania, probably a fairly good person. And then he'll go and poke a porn star or a Playboy model. And then in the same week, maybe even the same day, we'll spend time with Pastor Paula White and be told that he's executing the mandate of heaven. Now, if the 3 of those things are not enough to fuck up a man's mind, I don't know what would do it. That would do it. Well, I mean, maybe I'm just weak and it would do it for me to have those 3 things, trying to hold those 3 paradigms of reality in my mind all at the same time. Man, I don't think so. Okay, so the problem is that Pastor Paula White and all the evangelicals have this arrogant belief in their spiritual juju that they can deal with. Well, in fact, apparently feel that they can detect sociopathy and that Donnie doesn't have it. He's not a sociopath. He's not a narcissist. He's not a goddamn liar at every chance. He's none of those things. See, I used to think, there are people out there who say, oh, I'm a God-fearing Christian and I do decry the way that Mr. Trump has behaved, but he's opposed to abortion and he's got all of these federal judges appointed that are going to help us fight abortion. And that is God's mandate. That is the mandate of heaven. And so he is God's champion, even though he stinks to high heaven, and we agree that he does. Well, would God pick as his champion a pussy-grabbing, whoremongering, lying, incompetent boob? I don't think so. So, that's my ranting today, is that watch out for the stupid arrogance of religious people to believe that they can detect, because they don't, and correct, because they can't, human aberrations. Now, the person himself, if he has detected it and wishes to correct it himself, can cling to a life jacket and maybe make his way to the farther shore. But it ain't the preacher who's going to do it. Now, I need to know if you're out there. I need to know if anybody's actually listening. I kind of wanted to give it up this morning, but I looked and I saw that I got 5 views and I got 7 views and most of the time 1 view, 3 views. So, if you think what I'm saying is interesting, I'd sure like a comment or 2. It would just mean so much to your hot tub curmudgeon as he sits on the lovely shores of Star Lake.